You are Locked On Rockets Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, I don't know about all of you tonight, but I feel like I lost about 5 years off my life watching the Rockets try to find a way to lose that basketball game tonight. But don't you worry. They found a way to get the victory. They secure the top spot out of the West Group B or A, whichever one it is, in the NBA Cup. They advance to the knockout stages in the Cup. Their quest for the first Cup in the history of the franchise continues. And it was a tale of two halves. We're going to talk about, well, what it means to find a way to hold on to get that victory, the good and the bad of this game, and then we'll take a look ahead at tomorrow night when the Rockets will take on the Philadelphia 76ers in Philadelphia. Hello and welcome to the Locked On Rockets Postcast tonight. I am your host, Michael Connor. Thank you for joining us, whether it is live or afterwards. Appreciate you guys as always. Make sure that if you are watching this now or later and you have not subscribed to this channel yet, go ahead and please hit the subscribe button. This channel continues to grow, and it's all because of you all, and I am so appreciative of that. And yeah, thank you for helping us out every single day here on this channel. Tonight's episode, by the way, is brought to you by BILT. Start earning points on rent. You've already been paying by going to joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. All right. I'm going to take the positive angle of this tonight from the standpoint of finding the way to get the win. There's a lot of bad in the second half tonight that I did not personally enjoy. And we'll get to some of that here in a bit. You're not going to be perfect every night when you come out and play an NBA. You're not going to be perfect every time you play any sporting event. We all know that. We've watched them for so long. You know, teams are going to come out and just completely wet the bed one night, and the next night, lights out. And that can happen. That can change inside of the game as well. But to me, tonight, what I walk away with is the level of maturity that you have to have and staying within the moment to look, I mean, flat out, you know that it's going to be brought up. The film session's probably going to be a doozy. They coughed that one up. They had an 18-point lead. They were absolutely dominating that basketball game, basically from the tip. And you're talking middle of the third quarter there, and you know, I mean, so here's how this goes. I usually do, you know, like you see our YouTube clip or our graphics, the thumbnail and all that stuff. I usually make like 3 or 4 of them during the game because I like to have all my stuff done well ahead of time. And I do one for every different scenario. The first one I made tonight had the headline of "Statement Made," because that's what it felt like this win was going to be. Not saying that there's not a statement made. There is a bit of a statement made, but like it was going to be like a statement made. Punch them in the mouth in their place, took control of this group, moved on to the knockout stage, showed everybody that you are for real with this thing. You want to win this thing, and did it in decisive fashion. And then things fell apart. You credit the other side when things fall apart as well. You know, Minnesota got red hot. That's very helpful when you are red hot. Ask the Rockets in the first half. And when you find yourself in a spot where you cough up a massive lead like the Rockets did tonight, it makes you wonder, like, okay, you know, is this a sign that it's been too good to be true to an extent, what they've played like? I mean, those thoughts never crossed my mind for 1 second overall, but I can get where somebody might watch it and say, it's just the same old Rockets that it's always been. There's nothing different here. Some good fortune has to go your way down the stretch to make it happen. Some shots have to go in. How about Amen Thompson tying up the game with a three-pointer in the corner? A guy who's been, not a three-point shooter and gets no respect for anybody standing in the corner knocking one down. I mean, there's a lot of clutch shots there down the stretch. And then to take it to overtime, and not only get to overtime, but to put your foot back on the gas. Take control back of that basketball game and walk out of there with a win that I know I felt like they were destined for based on the way that they were playing early in the basketball game. Guys that lead you across it tonight, Fred VanVleet had some moments. He took a lot of shots, but he had some moments. Really, this was a game tonight that relied so much on your starting unit. It was really, honestly, shouldn't say it. It did. This entire game was your starting unit and Amen Thompson. Amen had 15 off the bench. You know how many points the rest of the Rockets bench players had tonight? 3. Tari was an offer, which doesn't happen very often. Landale had 3 points. Reed Shepherd had 0 in his 9. And you look at the way that Udoka coached this thing. He coached this thing like it was a playoff type of game. Go look at the minutes. Jabari 38. This is not even December yet. Of course not December. Or Thanksgiving's in 2 days. Jabari 38 minutes. Dylan Brooks 41 minutes. Alpi 42 minutes. Fred VanVleet 45 minutes. Jalen Green had 23, but he had a very bad night. That's a lot of it. And then Amen Thompson off the bench with 38. Eason had 18. Landale had 11. And Shepherd, as I mentioned, had 9. And we'll talk about the good and the bad, like I mentioned from it. I guarantee you this right now. A lot of those guys tomorrow night go, tight hammy. Injury management tomorrow night in Philadelphia. Some guys are going to be missing some time tomorrow night because, they played a ton of minutes tonight. Take the win. You take the win. That's what matters. You take the W, even if it wasn't as easy as I would have liked and you would have liked. Basketball's a game of runs. We know this. We've watched it. We talk about it. At some point in every single game, every team's going to make a run. Didn't feel like Minnesota was going to make a run like that. They did. You survived it. It is what it is. Let's talk about the bad side of it tonight. I'm not going to go all negative. Don't worry. It's not going to be the end of the world. I just do want to recognize the things in the basketball game that went wrong and the differences in the two halves. What I liked a lot, I'm going to talk about what I liked a lot in the first half and then what I didn't like in the second half. That's next here on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. Mentioned to you guys, tonight's show is brought to you by BILT. And, BILT is really cool. You are going to get yourself, look, if you're somebody that's out there still paying rent, I should say. If you haven't heard of BILT, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is now a reality when you pay your rent through BILT. You don't even have to check with your landlord to start earning points that you can use towards flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, and even your next rent payment. Let me break it down for you. It's no cost to you to join BILT, and as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent on your everyday spending. BILT points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world you can redeem your BILT points toward. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only BILT members can access. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, why not? Start earning points on your rent that you're already paying by going to joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure you use our URL so they know that we sent you. Joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points on your rent payments today. And one more message before we get back to our Rockets discussion after the win tonight. in the NBA Cup over the Minnesota Timberwolves. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account, contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 per month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investment involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Sorry, very parched. Dry air out there today. Nice weather here in the city of Houston. Probably a little bit colder up in Minnesota where the Rockets were tonight and beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is the Locked On Rockets Postcast. Thank you for joining us live here this evening. If you are live, if not, watching it later on. You guys have been crushing it on these videos, watching them later on. The views for the Rockets games have been awesome, and I am very, very appreciative of it. It means a lot because, look, we did really great when it comes to having a big audience for Astros this regular season. Texan shows have really started to pick up steam. I appreciate you guys stopping by and joining Wade Smith and I for those. We'll be back with you again on Sunday. Sure would like to talk about good things with them, but, I guess I can't be too picky. They were just playing football. So that's about all I can ask for. The Rockets as well here on this channel. I'm having a blast getting back into doing Rockets again. It's been a couple of years. I shouldn't say, it's been a couple of years since I've done pregame shows, postgame shows on the radio for Rockets now. It's hard to believe I've been out of radio for over a year now. But yeah, if you've not seen my work before, yes, I used to do Rockets and Astros pre and postgame shows on the radio here in Houston. So thank you again for stopping by. If you're looking for this show wherever you get your podcast, go ahead and search for Locked On Rockets. You'll get this show and the Locked On Rockets Daily podcast. That's hosted by Jackson Gatlin. He does a fantastic job every single day covering your Rockets. I'm sure he's going to have some great stuff up after this win tonight over Minnesota because, well, not that you don't celebrate, but there's reason to enjoy tonight. The Rockets came out and they still found a way, even if it was bad late, to get a win and secure their way into the knockout stages of the NBA Cup. So we'll get to all that here. But again, go check out Jackson Gatlin on the Locked On Rockets podcast. Subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. All right. So this NBA Cup thing, it's interesting, right? I'm a big, big fan of European soccer. I've told you guys this before. You see I've got my little lanyard back here from my trip over there last year. I'm a Chelsea supporter. And one of the big things in Europe is playing for trophies. And that's exactly what the NBA's done with this NBA Cup thing, is add another trophy. Give other teams it's a brilliant idea. Soccer's had it brilliant for a long time. It keeps interest. It allows teams, because some of the big teams at times don't care as much about the smaller cups or whatnot. And it gives the little guys a chance to go win something. NBA is a little bit different monster, right? Because there's not a bunch of those. And, at the end of the day, there's only 30, or I should say there's 30 teams here. And it's just completely different. But the general idea of this, I do think is cool. It always goes back to you're playing way too many regular season games to be doing all this, but it's not my problem to worry about. It's their problem. It mixes into the regular season, so it is what it is. And then you could play extra games with the other stuff. But the Rockets clearly, and I think my favorite thing about tonight and the way that they've played in these NBA Cup games so far is that they want to win this thing. it is very obvious that they want to win this thing. I think it does bring a little bit of spice to these regular season games that at times, if you've watched the NBA for years, you know that games in the NBA in the middle of the regular season, sometimes it's going through the motions. It's like baseball. It's the dog days. There's a ton of games. The intensity level's not there all the time. And again, like I mentioned, you see the way it was coached tonight by Ime Udoka. It was coached like it was a game that was game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals or something. You know what I mean? And even on the other side of it, go look at the Timberwolves tonight. They only used 8-man rotation tonight. That's it. That's crazy. We are, again, November 26th, and this is what we're seeing. And here's what to set up the good to the bad tonight. I absolutely loved the amount of intensity that the Rockets came out with tonight. I thought from the opening tip, you could see exactly how much they knew this win would mean because they could go ahead and wrap up that spot in the knockout stages with a win tonight. And I love the way that they dictated the pace of the game early on. I thought they were extremely aggressive dictating pace. I thought they just did a great job of getting out there quite a bit and really putting the Timberwolves on their back heels a lot. And then it helps when you knock down shots in those situations, right? And honestly, they kind of carried that into the third quarter to start. But I thought, walking away from that first half, I was like, wow. I was sitting here in my mind, you think about the small little things you want to talk about when you do a show after a game. And I was going to come on here and say, this is my favorite game of the season that they've played so far. Not that I didn't enjoy getting a win. The stress of the end of this game tonight wasn't as much fun for me as the great stuff in the first half. You just go back and look at it real quick, pull up our box score from tonight for the first half. Rockets outscoring 57-47, shoot 55% from the 3, 49 from the field. They were great. Second half, again, tells the story here. Second half box score real quick. Outscored 55-45. Shot just 23% from the 3-point line, 38 from the field. And I think that the biggest thing that I did not like as that second half moved along, all those good things that I mentioned that I felt like the Rockets came out and they were assertive and they dominated the pace of the game. They said, you're going to play to our pace and this is what we're going to, and they played fast. I am always, and we heard a lot about that in the offseason about how the Rockets wanted to play faster and everything. I am always a fan of playing fast. I think that when you can allow teams to not get set up how they want to defensively and really chase you, it's a good, especially when you have a team like the Rockets. They're young, they're athletic, they can get out, they can do all these things. But it's like all of a sudden Minnesota makes a run at it and gets back into this basketball. I think I got it down to single digits. They got it down to 9. And that was the first time I was like, okay, well, let's see what they did. They took a timeout. Let's see how they come out of this. Let's see if the fire gets lit back under them. They come out and they dictate pace because they stopped dictating pace right there. And then it didn't happen. And then, how it goes in sports. The home team gets the momentum of the crowd behind them. It's crazy, raucous atmosphere, all these things. And then you look up and, oh, it's a 3-point game. Oh, it's a 1-point game. Oh, Minnesota's taking the lead. Oh, it's a 3-point lead for Minnesota. Oh, I think it got it to 5. How did that happen so quickly? And then you think back on why that happened so quickly, and I think that the pace wasn't dictated. And it's hard to believe for this team because they've been, really one of their calling cards this season. And Ime Udoka joked about it the other night at the podium. Asked why they've been really, really, really good at coming out of second halves with a lot of intensity and changing the way that the game is flowed and all those things. And tonight, I felt like maybe a little bit they just kind of fell into the, we got this one. But again, credit to them. They found a way to still get the win. That means something because you are allowed to have human moments, right? Athletes can have the human moment. You and I can have the human moment like that. If like we were in their situation, we could have that moment. You let your guard down a little bit, right? And that's what it felt like to me. They let their guard down. But instead of being a immature team or a bad team, when you let that guard down, you realize it, you fight, and they did have to fight through it from the standpoint of all of a sudden they went ice cold. I mean, there was a stretch there, the fourth quarter was like 6 minutes where they didn't hit a thing. Like the lid was literally on the basket. I think it was Fred VanVleet that knocked down the three to end that. They're allowed to have those moments. And then you fight through it and look at the outcome. All you had to do is get that thing to overtime at that point. And they did. And then they got red hot real quick. And there's your basketball game. So I think it's worthy of the analysis of the game tonight. You can't look at this game and watch this game and not acknowledge the fact that the first half was tremendous. The come out and just get after it mode that they were in. It was great. And like I mentioned, I had on top of that thing, I had a ton of fun watching that. And I really thought we were about to witness quite possibly a game that we look back on at the end of the regular season and go, man, that was one of the best games of the season tonight. And it slips up. It is what it is. And you have to credit Minnesota too, right? You can't just say all these things about yourself. I mean, like Minnesota in that second half came out and they put up those 55 points. And they didn't actually shoot the ball well from three, but they dominated the glass in that second half, 28-7. They did a lot of little things to get back into that game. And then they got hot and they scored. And they were doing things kind of wherever they wanted to do them on the floor against this Rockets team. But it doesn't matter at the end of the night. You found a way to that victory. You're advancing to the knockout stages of the NBA Cup. I mentioned that the other night. How nice is that going to be to add into the trophy case there at the Toyota Center? Between the two trophies. It's been a long time since the Rockets have hoisted a trophy. Year 2, baby. NBA Cup champs coming up right at you. Look out. I love that they've given so much effort to it. And I also love, and I don't know why more teams don't play like this, or why teams don't play like this in general as it is. The point differential thing matters here. I love that they're dunking the ball with 8 seconds left. Who cares? Fans booing. And they don't need the point differential. They're getting through, but that's the way that they've played all these games. So, you're not going to suddenly change. But I just think it's an enjoyable aspect of the NBA Cup. Let's talk about the game tomorrow night. What kind of effort are you going to see from the Rockets in that one? How many guys are going to play? We'll talk about that next here in the Locked On Rockets Postcast. All right, guys, I need to tell you right now about SKIMS. Have you heard about SKIMS? Well, if you haven't, what are you waiting for? Look, we all have to wear our undergarments, right? Sometimes they get a little uncomfortable. That's what SKIMS is here for. SKIMS is here to make that uncomfortable not be uncomfortable anymore. They've got so many great options for you guys, whether it's the cotton 5-inch boxer brief, the stretch boxer brief, the 3-inch cotton boxer brief. Again, up and down the lineup, unbelievable options. Look, I used to be a boxers guy. I've turned into a briefs guy. And as the further along I've gotten into them, finding the right comfort when it comes to those briefs, it's been tough. That's what you get with SKIMS every time that you put them on. Shop SKIMS Mens at skims.com/lockedonnba. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. If you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, SKIMS just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, which is also available at skims.com/NBA. Locked On Rockets Postcast tonight. after the win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you joining us here tonight after the Rockets hold on and find a way to a win over those Timberwolves, 117-111 in overtime, baby. Is that their second overtime game this season? See, this is what happens when you do the show live. You mean to look things up? No, that's not. Is that their second? Yes, their second overtime game this season. That was the Golden State game that you look back on and go, man, probably should have had that one just based on the way that you came back. The way they kind of came back that night, the way that Minnesota came back tonight, they're probably kicking themselves in the teeth as well because they feel like they should have come back and finished that thing off tonight and gotten that win. Now, tomorrow night, the Rockets are right back to it. They're in Philadelphia tomorrow night to play the 76ers. Now, the 76ers this season, it's been a very odd year for them. Paul George is back out hurt. All the other guys being available is always a big old fat guessing game. And here's the reality of the 76ers so far this season. They've not been very good. They will enter that one tomorrow night. The Rockets will play them. I don't think they're playing tonight. They're not. The 76ers are 3-13 on the season. That is insane. 3-13. I don't know if there's an early line. I mean, I would assume that there's an early line on the game here, but I don't see one at the moment. Or actually, I do. Wow. The Rockets are 6.5-point favorites. Now, that of course, happens when, Embiid is out and Paul George is out. They still have, I believe, Maxi's going to play. He's good. 6.5-point favorites on the road. Philadelphia should just tank that thing out. The question is going to be are the Rockets going to play everybody tomorrow night? We'll see. I don't know. We will find out. I'd guess that Fred VanVleet gets a night off tomorrow night. He's got hamstring soreness or something. Somebody's getting a night off tomorrow night. Who will it be? We'll find out. Of course, when that game ends tomorrow night, whenever that game ends, why am I struggling to say this? When that game ends tomorrow night, we will be back with you again for another Locked On Rockets postcast. As always, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for coming by and watching live tonight or watching later on. Again, hit the subscribe, share the videos, do whatever you got to do to help us out here on this Locked On Rockets postcast. You guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. We'll talk again tomorrow night after Rockets and 76ers. The Locked On Rockets postcast.